Yo, what up? It's your boy SP the GOAT, and I'm back at y'all with another breakdown of Fightland Season 1. And this is Episode 2, and Episode 2 gives us something that the premiere couldn't. And that is, everybody is now making moves against incomplete information. So put your mouthpiece in, glove up, and get your headgear ready for this episode breakdown. You know how we do. Hit that like button, hit that hype button, and subscribe. I appreciate all the feedback, love, and support, and I love y'all back. So with that said, let's get into it. Fightland Episode 2 might look like everybody is just moving pieces around the board, but I don't think it's really what happened. The episode is a boxing match, and the crazy part is, everybody's fighting a different opponent. Duke thinks he's fighting Kingsley. Zeke thinks he's fighting whoever stole the drugs. Cece thinks she's fighting to keep the father's empire from collapsing. Joy might be fighting to keep somebody from finding out what she knows. And somewhere in the background, law enforcement may already be stepping into the ring. And there were a lot of punches thrown in this episode. The question is, who actually landed? Because Duke's entire revenge plan has a major problem. He still doesn't know for certain that Kingsley ordered the Vegas attack. Let me say that again. Duke is preparing to dismantle this man's entire criminal organization, and a piece of information motivating everything that he's doing at this point still hasn't been independently confirmed. Hear me out. The guy Amato showed Duke at the prison told Duke the robbery happened because Duke was sleeping with Joy. Okay, that's motive. That's not the same thing as somebody telling Duke Kingsley Marshall ordered the hit. But when Duke talks to Jay, Duke upgrades that theory into fact and tells Jay Kingsley ordered the hit. Nobody told him that. That's our first hook, and Duke might be walking right into it. Because what if Kingsley didn't order the Vegas hit? What if somebody needed Duke to believe Kingsley ordered the Vegas hit? Now we got a very different fight. He might be a boxer, and he might have learned some street smarts in prison, but he doesn't know the streets too well. And Joy isn't making the question any easier, because when Joy meets Duke at the bowling alley after sending Langston away, and I need y'all to watch what happens during this conversation. Joy tells Duke she let him go while he was in prison. She tells him she doesn't care what women he deals with. Okay, cool. Then why is Joy meeting with Duke? More importantly, why does Joy keep pressing Duke about whether Kingsley was behind Vegas? She's throwing a jab. She's not telling Duke Kingsley did it. What she's doing here is testing Duke's reaction and speed. Does Duke know something? Does he suspect Kingsley? Did somebody already tell Duke something Joy needs to know? More importantly, what does Joy know that she's not telling Duke about Vegas? And when Duke finally tries to counter Joy's jab and try to ask her why she came to see him, the phone rings. She gets saved by the bell. Fightland couldn't have gave me a better boxing metaphor if they tried. Meanwhile, the Marshall kids are getting hit with body shots. The drugs are gone, the suppliers are getting nervous, the boxing promotion isn't running smoothly, the casino expansion still needs to happen, and Kingsley has apparently been missing for 6 months. That's not one crisis, that's an entire organization getting worked over in the ribs. And now we're starting to see the difference between Zeke and Cece. Zeke fights emotionally, Cece fights strategically. Zeke gets frustrated and immediately starts talking about getting Nadeem knocked out. And notice the progression there. Up until now, Zeke's been loud, reckless, and entitled. But this is the first time we're seeing him seriously think about knocking somebody out. Not a boxing knockout. Y'all know the Fightland dictionary now. It's a permanent one. Cece, on the other hand, she's not trying to knock anybody out right now. She's trying to win on points. She puts the word out about the missing stash. She identifies their supply operation got a hole in it. She works on the casino deal. She handles Nadeem. She handles Zeke. And she tries to handle Joy. And that's why I'm still watching Cece as the most competent marshal in this family. But then Cece throws one sentence that might be more important than anything else in this episode. She tells Joy, Kingsley is where he is, and if Joy keeps shaking Langston, Cece will tell Kingsley. Wait a minute, tell Kingsley how? You know where he is? Because Zeke certainly doesn't seem to know. So now Cece puts herself into another split decision moment. Either she knows exactly where Kingsley is and she's keeping that information from everybody, or she's bluffing Joy because invoking Kingsley's name is still enough to control the room. Either answer tells us something important about Cece. She's comfortable fighting without showing her whole hand. That is not Zeke. Zeke might as well yell out which punch he's throwing before he swings. This man is trying to fix a fight by signaling the referee so clearly that Corey basically has to tell him, man, worry about those people over there who got money riding on this. Then here comes Duke. He sees exactly what's happening and tells Kareem to hit his opponent low and creates a situation where the other fighter gets disqualified. That's a literal low blow as a strategy, and Duke gets rewarded for it. When Zeke's angry crowd of people comes looking for him, Duke helps fight them off and then cashes in on that "you're like a son" line that Kingsley threw out last episode, telling Zeke that they're like family. That's Duke winning on points, because revenge isn't stopping Duke from playing the long game. He needs access. He needs Zeke comfortable. He needs CC to underestimate him. But most importantly, he needs to hear what happens inside the organization after every punch he throws, which is exactly what happens when Zeke invites Duke to the Nadim meeting. Duke manufactures the problem, then gets invited into the room where they discuss solving the problem. That's cold. But Duke's corner might become his weakness. Jay is loyal, and I'll give him that. He stands up to Lazaro and makes it clear that he's been with Duke since before the boxing and before the fame. But Jay also goes into Lorik's club, gets spotted casing the joint, he gets punked, and then we find out he's got a weak stomach. And then he joins a criminal operation where people are getting knocked out right and left. Jay feels like somebody whose heart is in the right place, but his chin might not be built for this. And I'm putting a danger flag on him. Not saying that he's definitely getting knocked out, but what if this was Vegas? I'm not putting my money on Jay making it through 12 rounds. And Lazaro isn't exactly making things safer. This man dumped Simeon's body in the Thames with no weights, and then sets the van on fire, I guess to hide the evidence, but the explosion is going to draw even more attention to the area. My guy, you are getting rid of a body. Why are we producing Michael Bay's London Vacation next to the body? That's a future hook waiting to happen, because Simeon may become more dangerous dead than he ever was alive. In Simeon's personnel file Duke stole from the boxing office, Lazaro spots some gaps in Simeon's employment, and that makes Lazaro think Simeon could be working with law enforcement. And later we learn Simeon was meeting with Kim Harper, the same Kim now flirting with Duke and trying to get closer to Duke. Now hold up, I'm not saying Kim is law enforcement just yet, we don't have enough. But I'm putting it on the scorecard, because if Simeon is a rat and he's telling on the Marshall organization, and Kim is somehow connected with Simeon, Duke might have just walked directly into somebody who has a professional reason to learn everything Duke knows. That's another hook that Duke's got to look out for. Duke's status after Vegas in prison makes him a target. He's a convicted former heavyweight champion hanging around a criminal organization that might already be under investigation. If Kim is involved with the cops, she doesn't even have to throw a punch. She just got to let Duke talk. That's a jab, jab, jab. Gather information, jab. Wait for the opening, jab. And then throw the cross. And speaking of openings, Lorik's knockout creates another mess. The plan was already complicated. Plant the drugs, blame the Albanians, use Lorik's knockout to stir up conflict with the Albanians and the Russians. But Lorik isn't just some random guy. He's Nadim's son. So Duke and Lazaro, they're not creating confusion anymore. They're creating emotion. And emotion makes people predictable. Nadim wants Russian blood right now. So that means Duke plans work. But success can sometimes make more problems than your failures ever could. Because once Nadim starts swinging, Duke can't completely control who gets hit. And that's why my biggest takeaway from episode 2 is not that Duke is winning Fightland. So here's the scorecard. In the Joy and Duke fight, I'm calling this a split decision right now. One judge says Joy knows Kingsley ordered the Vegas hit and she's checking to see how much Duke knows. Another judge says Joy knows somebody else was involved and that's why she's pushing Duke towards the Kingsley theory. The third judge says maybe Joy really thinks her husband is gone, but we don't know yet. But I do know this. Joy came to meet Duke for something, and it wasn't bowling. If we're scoring this fight round by round, Duke probably takes the episode on points. He manipulates the robbery investigation, gets closer to Zeke and his confidence, He helps steer the suspicion away from their operation. He keeps Jay alive, and he continues working towards Kingsley. But Duke is also fighting Days, because the one thing he didn't do is the one thing that matters the most. He didn't find out who actually ordered the Vegas hit. What Duke knows is that Amato connected the robbery to Duke sleeping with Joy, and that's motive. That isn't proof that Kingsley gave the order. So what happens if Duke is fighting the right war against the wrong opponent? The more damage Duke causes before answering that question, the harder it's going to be to stop the fight if he discovers he had the wrong opponent. And then we got Joy throwing jabs, CC winning some points, but Zeke is swinging wildly, and Jay is standing in Duke's corner with a questionable chin. Lazaro leaving evidence floating in the Thames, and Kim Harper might be walking toward Duke with a completely different game plan. And you know, everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the chin. Everybody thinks they're setting up the knockout, but somebody in this story is about to find out they've been punching at a decoy, and when that happens, that's when Fightland is really gonna start. So y'all tell me in the comments, who won episode 2 on points? And more importantly, who do y'all think actually ordered that hit in Vegas? Because until Duke answers that question, I'm not convinced he even knows who he's fighting. All right, y'all, that's the episode. Please like, comment, subscribe, and leave your comments, concerns, complaints, moans, groans, and frustrations all in the comments below, and I will read them one by one. Thank you. I appreciate y'all for supporting, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Gone.